Join Boise State Public Radio for a concert with blues rock guitarist and vocalist Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall in Boise, February 13th, with reserved seating. A night with Coco Montoya and his band? Find details and a link for tickets at boisestatepublicradio.org.
It's The Connector, Idaho Daily News from Boise State Public Radio News. Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 11th. I'm Troy Oppie. A pep talk of sorts for Ada County department heads as they begin their annual budgeting process. And state senators are busy evaluating a bill that would give Idaho cops the ability to enforce U.S. immigration law and $300 minimum penalties for possession of marijuana. Those stories and what to do if the winter doldrums have got you down. This morning on The Connector from Boise State Public Radio News. First, coldest temperatures of the season in Idaho are upon us. Very cold weather, as low as 25 below zero in the higher Idaho basins, 15 below zero in eastern Oregon, 5 below possible for valley listeners in the Treasure and Magic Valleys. The National Weather Service says Wednesday morning will be the coldest period. A cold weather advisory in place for all of eastern Oregon and much of southern Idaho through 10 a.m. on Thursday. And in fact, an extreme cold warning with even colder temperatures possible on the Camas Prairie, where frostbite is a real danger if you have exposed skin for any significant length of time in those areas. Again, cold temperatures set to last through Thursday morning. All right, let's get over to the State House, where a bill giving Idaho cops the ability to enforce U.S. immigration law is headed to the state Senate. Here's James Dawson with more.
The proposal mirrors a Texas law that's currently being held up by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It would allow law enforcement to charge someone who's in the country illegally, but only if they're being detained or investigated for another crime. Republican Representative Bruce Skoggs says cops won't be profiling suspects with this proposal.
They're not going to show up at our employers, different places, and say, we want to see your papers.
House Minority Caucus Chair Todd Achilles says he's fully on board with not, quote, giving sanctuary to unauthorized immigrants who commit crimes, but
we're not going to fix America's broken federal immigration system with a questionably constitutional state law that weakens civil rights protections and penalizes Idaho's most productive industries.
The first violation would be a misdemeanor, with subsequent violations considered felonies. Those convicted for the new crime would be deported. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Also headed to the Senate floor, legislation creating a mandatory minimum $300 fine for anyone caught with marijuana in Idaho. It already passed the House. The Idaho Capital Sun reports the bill advanced out of Senate committee yesterday, with law enforcement and conservative groups pushing for its passage as a deterrent measure. A medical professional who treats veterans told the committee it would directly hurt his patients, many of whom are helped by marijuana use, but they have to break state law to get that help. The Senate Judiciary and Rules Committee advanced the bill on a party line vote. It passed the House last month, 54-14. The Ada County Highway District will get access to emergency repair funds for the recently closed Eckert Bridge from the state's Local Highway Technical Assistance Council and the leading Idaho Local Bridge Program. The exact cost is not yet known, though an ACHD spokesperson last week said previous estimates to replace the Eckert Bridge and two others over nearby irrigation canals totaled $38 million. The Idaho Press reports that last week's emergency funding application gives the project over to the Highway Technical Assistance Council for design and contracting that will allow ACHD to move forward with other projects it already had underway without needing to divert funding. The Technical Council will oversee just the main bridge replacement. ACHD says it will explore companion projects on the other two nearby bridges. There is no timeline yet for demolition and replacement. The Eckert Road Bridge remains closed to vehicle traffic. Ada County department heads last week heard a pep talk of sorts from county commissioners and County Clerk Trent Triple ahead of the annual budgeting process. The county is projecting that revenue will stay flat. It wants managers to propose budgets using the same amount of money as the current year. and that includes any new positions or special salary increases they want to implement. Triple says the county wants to give all its employees a 4% cost of living raise. That would cost about $6.2 million next year. As of now, only about half that funding has been identified.
The last 3 years, we've increased salaries on average 17%, and we have not taken an additional tax dollar to do that. That is magnificent budgeting on all of your parts, okay? But we're back to the point where there probably isn't a whole lot of extra to find anywhere else now to be able to shift towards those pay raises. So again, that extra revenue demand will be hard, and there'll be some difficult discussions.
Commissioner Ryan Davidson encouraged budget writers to follow the example being set by Elon Musk, who was tapped as an advisor to President Donald Trump to lead the so-called Department of Government Efficiency.
Now, we're not going to find certainly as much as Doge has, and that's a good thing because we have been keeping an eye on it, and our department chairs have been keeping an eye on it. But it's just a good omen to me that our country's going through maybe the first ever real audit of government programs that we've had in my lifetime, and I'm excited to see how it plays out and how that trickles down to Idaho.
Most federal agencies have historically made all budget and spending information public. The state of Idaho and Ada County share budget and spending information with the public as well. Ada County's budgeting process goes through this spring with public hearings on the proposed spending plan for the next fiscal year, scheduled to begin in June. Told you a few minutes ago about the very cold weather we're set to experience for another couple of days. If you're feeling the doom and gloom of the groundhog's prediction of 6 more weeks of winter, Abigail Moody has details on an activity that could increase your mental well-being.
Studies have shown that time in nature can offer mental health benefits. In 2023, Idaho-born professor Nils Peterson with North Carolina State University got curious about how wildlife activities affected people.
We decided to look at the effects of bird watching on well-being.
Peterson held a 10-week research project where a control group went around business as usual, and 2 treatment groups had some homework. The first
We're assigned to walk in the forest once a week, or a second treatment group assigned to go bird watching while they walked in the forest.
His findings showed that
There were measurable sort of increases in well-being and decreases in stress that were the most pronounced among people who went bird watching.
with over 400 species of birds in Idaho and Idaho Fish and Game's interactive birding trail map, this hobby could be waiting just outside your door. Abigail Moody, Boise State Public Radio News.
There are more resources and maps on birding in Idaho at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. You're caught up on this Tuesday. I'm Troy Oppie. Our news director is Sasha Woodruff. Our general manager is Tom Michael. We thank you for listening and, of course, remind you that Boise State Public Radio is listener-funded. You can make a gift anytime at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. Make it a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. We're more than just podcasts and a radio station at Boise State Public Radio. We're a trusted resource and a lifeline for communities across Idaho. It's up to all of us to safeguard public media's future. You can learn more at protectmypublicmedia.org. Together, we can ensure that Boise State Public Radio remains a trusted resource for you and your neighbors for generations to come.